Hello! As promised in my last video about my Alchemist Oracle, this video will address a spread or layout method which is useful with the Alchemist Oracle as well as other card decks. And in fact, I originally used with Tarot and then adapted for use with the Alchemist Oracle. The four element spread is one type of spread or layout, which is a way to draw and place cards from an Oracle deck such that not only the card individually in its meaning, but also the order in which it's drawn, the place where it's laid on the table, the meaning of that place, its orientation individually and in relation to other cards, all add additional layers of meaning. So it gives a more complete and complex reading and a more detailed answer for the divination. One example of such a layout is one that's commonly used for tarot, which is the 3-card past, present, future layout, where the first card drawn, placed on the left, represents the past, previous events, the precedents that have led up to the second card, the present, which is the current state of affairs, often the subject of the inquiry or what's going on right at the moment. And what leads into the third card on the right, the future, which is things yet to come, predictions, a possible outcome, or what should be done to obtain their desired result. So as you can see, each of those cards has its individual interpretation, but it's modified by its place and its relationship to the others. And there's a continual narrative, past leading to present, present leads into future, that is informative as well. Similarly, the 4 elements spread, drawing 4 cards and placing them according to the cardinal elements and directions, north, west, east, and south, or earth, water, air, and fire, adds additional meaning for each symbol, each draw, and there's an interrelated meaning of those elements to one another. I'm going to switch to show the table and point out the places, and then do a sample reading to illustrate how the spread is used. So before I get started discussing the layout itself, I wanted to note that I've oriented this relative to you as the viewer rather than myself as the reader. And I've got this helpful compass rose to keep us both oriented correctly. I'm also going to be reading the cards face up only rather than any reversed meanings, just for simplicity. So bear that in mind. So the 4 elements spread corresponds to the 4 points, the 4 directions corresponding to the 4 elements, as I noted before. The first card drawn and placed is in the top corner, which is north, corresponding to earth. This is the foundation, the grounding, the background. It is the thing that the reading is about and is generally the unchangeable part of matters. The next card drawn and placed is on this corner. It is the west, or water. This is the movable part, the effect, the thing that can be changed. It essentially is what the process is about, whether a prediction of change or something that you can affect. In comparison, next card drawn to the other corner in the east is the inspiration, the thing that causes that effect, the moving part, the thing that can butt up or touch or be a medium to work through. And what causes that movement initially, what kicks things off, is in the south with fire. This is the power, the impetus, the energy of the reading. It's what moves things along, what could be added to cause certain change. Note that these also can correspond roughly to states of matter. Solid for earth, liquid for water, gas for air, and plasma for fire, the heat, the movement. So cards can be read corresponding not only to those states, those elements, and those properties. I find this particularly useful for the Alchemist Oracle in particular because cards already have some elemental correspondences which can be read as matching up with the element that they're drawn under or clashing with it, mismatching, and that can be informative as well. So it's an extra source of information that's not available if you use this, for example, with tarot cards. So let's start turning over cards, and I'll give examples of how those positions can be read. Question that I'm asking. Let's say a romantic question. What should I do to meet a partner? Something that this deck is not particularly good about. But let's try it. The first card drawn in the north for Earth is coagulation, which is somewhat appropriate. It is a earthy, solidifying sort of process. It makes what was formerly fluid solid. So coagulation in the north in a romantic reading could suggest it's time to commit, to make things solid, to decide similar ideas. Not comfortable for a lot of querents, but that might be what it's about. And note that we do not get the final reading until we've looked at all the positions, so this could modify based on the other positions. In the west, water. Remember, this is the medium, the thing that can be moved or affected. Antimony. That is an interesting one too. It corresponds to the symbolism of the wolf, the natural world, nature's needs, wildness. Passion, in particular, this suggests not just love and abstract love, but lust itself, the desire to have a partner, to mate. So that's interesting in that sense. That could be what needs to be firmed up or may arrive as one approaches partnership. Let's look at the east. This is, again, the movable part that collides with this, the catalyst, the cause. Platinum, really an interesting one for romantic reading. It is another card of merger, but it is the perfect marriage. Two things that are whole in themselves becoming something even greater. Platinum being pure and a step above gold in some conceptions of the noble metals. So that could be seen as a model of seeing others in a positive, beneficial relationship, wanting what they have, which then leads to that motivation, which could then lead to, this outcome or this background. But what's the energy? What is going to push that along? What's the causation? Oh boy, there's no fire like liquid fire. Vitriol, it's an acid. It breaks things down. Unfortunately, in a romantic reading, I would read that as things fall apart, beginning. That one is lost their sense of self, one has been dissociated and torn apart from other relationships, suggesting that the reason that they're asking in the first place is that they feel that disconnect, that misery of being dissolved in acid. Suggests that to go from that state of discomfort to seek out others who have the kind of relationship you're seeking, use that to build passion, where you might have considered things in a more calculated or cautious fashion before. Perhaps it's better to simply let your base needs out, to feel that desire and let it guide you. Not always advisable, but maybe in the context of this reading. And that will lead you to a real committed relationship rather than something more intellectually or abstractly based, something where you feel it in all parts of yourself. Again, that's just my interpretation, base it on the context present. I also wanted to do a quick comparison. Let's say vitriol was drawn not in the fire southern position, but you drew it for air. How would that change its meaning? Well, now that dissolution, that acid becomes the active part. It might suggest that you need to break off bad relationships or offend someone, perhaps, step outside your comfort zone and cause trouble, as opposed to it being the original root cause of events. All right. I hope that's helped to clarify both the layout and its interpretation for this reading. Just a couple of closing remarks. First, as I noted before, this method has proved particularly useful with the Alchemist Oracle because of that interesting combination of the elemental positions with possible elemental interpretations of the cards themselves, whether they match up well, as the case of vitriol with fire, or if they contrast distinctively. Say antimony with water is a bit of a different matchup. That can be a source of additional information that you wouldn't get using this as a spread for tarot cards. although I've used it successfully for tarot in the past, and some tarot cards do have elemental correspondences. Second, I'll note this is a modification. It may differ from other 4-element or 4-direction, 4-house spreads that you've seen used with tarot. I've modified it a bit to my own use, made it more familiar and adapted for these cards. So in case you noticed any differences, that's why. Still, I hope that the spread itself comes in handy for you, for your use, whether with the Alchemist Oracle, and if so, thank you, or with other cards. And if you've got any comments or thoughts about how I might improve it or how you've used the spread, let me know. I hope your divinations are accurate and clear, and thank you for watching.